Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar with Jill from Naperville, who's going to talk about the college career readiness framework and how they've shifted the paradigm. Before I let Jill start, and while you're all really here, I just get some housekeeping out of the way. If you have questions, please ask them in the questions tab. It's on the lower right-hand corner of your screen throughout the broadcast, and either I will answer in the chat or I'll stop Jill and we'll answer it during or at the end. All right. So thank you, everyone, for joining. And Jill, you can take it away.
Well, welcome, and thank you for joining today. We're always happy to share kind of our journey and our experience. We always learn from that. And just I'll preface that with this is our entry point and what we've been doing. And I know everybody who's in this work may have a different approach and different tactics. So with that, my name is Jill Hlavacek. I serve as Director of Innovation and Learning in Naperville Community Unit School District 203. And one of the areas of my work is really promoting and developing our career education program and specifically our career pathways of study. We really want to ensure that our students leave us ready for their future, that have had some meaningful experiences when they're with us, and that they leave with a plan. And as we always say, that they also have those skills to retool that plan when needed. So if you're not familiar with Naperville, we are a suburb of Chicago, just west of Chicago. We are a unit district, so about 16,000 students, 2,700 staff, all the way from early childhood through 12th grade. We do have 23 schools, and of those, there's 5 junior highs or middle schools and 2 high schools, which is mainly what I'm going to be speaking about today. We are a high-performing district and a very college-driven culture. In fact, about 86% of our graduates enter right into post-secondary, either a 2-year or 4-year university right when they leave us. I'm very proud about that. But about 5 years ago, we had some strategic planning and some conversations with our community and stakeholders, and really were charged with rethinking how we define success for our students and really focusing on educating that whole child, which led us to really start talking about being college, career, and life ready for our students, and really developing those skills.
Jill,
Sorry,
can you just hit hide the little stop sharing?
Oh, sorry, is
thing
that in the way?
blocking.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted this. I know your slides. I don't want that to block some stats that are coming up.
So our approach, again, our strategy might be different from other people. You may have a different problem you're trying to solve, but our entry point really was around taking a comprehensive look at our school counseling program. And that led us to really the development of our 6 through 12 counseling curriculum that embedded not just the college application process, but really was strategic about developing career experiences for students and post-secondary and financial planning with students. Simultaneously, or shortly after that, we began really looking at what we offer our high school students in relation to career development and pathways of study. And so we have been building programs of study for our students that really are focused on the different career cluster and pathway areas. In fact, in our district, and those of you from Illinois are familiar, you can actually have students complete pathways of study while they're with you and earn a diploma endorsement. And so what that means is students take at least 2 years of very career-specific coursework. And within those 2 years, they have to do at least 6 hours of early college credit experience. And then they also have to complete some of those professional learning or authentic learning activities of job-related. In fact, if I want a diploma endorsement in Naperville 203 or in Illinois, I have to do at least 60 hours of internship experience in that particular career area. So right now, we've launched 6 of those pathways for endorsements and have a goal to grow those. With all of that, you can probably imagine not just the paradigm shift in the change management process, but there's a lot of data involved in that. So we knew in order for our counselors and our students to be able to, deliver and have evidence of learning in that curriculum, we would need a tool that would help support us. So SchooLinks came into play, and I'll talk more about how that happened later, but that's our college and career readiness platform, and that serves as a repository of all this learning for our students from 6th through 12th grade, and it moves with them. It also serves as our tool for collecting all of our college and career readiness indicator data that not only that we want to see both at the student and building and district level, but that we also are required to report at the state level. I always like to kind of refocus a little bit, and for us, what frames this work is really in many different buckets. You all know that this at the national level, the Every Student Succeeds Act, there's a component of that legislation that really drives college and career preparation for students. In Illinois, in 2016, they first passed the Postsecondary Workforce Readiness Act, and that has since been updated last May. But that act really charges school districts with providing career-specific learning for students and also developing those pathways of study that lead to diploma endorsements. And on top of that, it also charges us with making sure that when they do leave our doors, that they are ready to start earning college credit, both in their math and English courses at the post-secondary level. Any of you who are in career and technical education, which I've spent most of my career a part of, know that Perkins funding that comes from the federal grants, really the reauthorization of that did line specifically with this work in developing pathways of study. And I already mentioned a little bit about our local initiative, but we very much have a district strategic plan around college and career readiness, both in the school counseling component and in developing those pathways of study, which also required us to really dive deeper into our data. As I mentioned before, we're very proud that 86% of our graduates enroll in post-secondary right after leaving us, whether it's a 2-year or 4-year. But when we took a longer look at that a few years out, we realized that 4 years after graduation of high school, only about 50% of those students had actually earned a degree. And you take that out even further to 6 years, and we know that we still have work that we can be doing, because 30% of our students after 6 years of post-graduation still do not have a post-secondary degree. So kind of frames our work. We then wanted to make sure that as we launched these conversations and this paradigm shift, that we were all speaking the same language and had that shared understanding or that shared definition of what college, career, and life ready meant in 203. And so we crafted, with many stakeholder groups, a definition of what it means to be college and career ready here. And it really lands in those areas of academic preparation, college and career readiness, workplace experiences, and then again, refocusing on that wellness and life readiness. We like to do things and divide kind of our work into different work streams and teams. And this is just a quick snapshot of how we broke down this initiative. I already mentioned we had a whole work stream around our comprehensive counseling curriculum. I'll talk a little bit more about that. We had a group working on that individual learning plan for students and what does that mean and how does that data impact decisions and plans. We also have a group working on our pathway development. And also now we're launching a brand new internship program and really thinking of how we can scale that work-based learning experience for all students. And along with that, really another work stream really looks at how are we getting creative and thinking about embedding those early college credit opportunities along the way for our students. All right, so when we dove into that comprehensive counseling curriculum, we had a team which actually is still meeting, but this group was charged with developing curriculum maps aligned to standards both in academic readiness, in social emotional learning, and in post-secondary and career exploration. And so we spent a lot of time really refining and focusing, and we're still iterating those maps, but we're pretty proud that we have designed a very intentional learning for our students that our counselors deliver around those different standards. And as you can kind of see this little snapshot, it might be too small, but really the lessons are specific around career exploration and development. What should students know and be able to do in that area? What should they know and be able to do around college exploration, preparation, and selection? And then also, what should they know and understand and be able to do around financial literacy? So if you're in Illinois, that aligns with the legislation, which is the PACE document and part of that Post-Secondary Workforce Readiness Act. All right, so our career pathways, this was our next phase of the work. Excuse me. And there's 16 national career clusters. And so what Illinois did is they took all 16 of those and crosswalked them and condensed and merged those down to 7 different career cluster areas. And so each of those little icons that you see on the screen, those are different areas that our students have the opportunity to earn diploma endorsements in. Now, we do offer pathways of study that don't have a diploma endorsement, as many of you have, but we're being very strategic in adding and growing those diploma endorsement areas. In fact, one of our goals is that we will have diploma endorsement in at least one pathway in all 7 of those areas, and that every single one of our high school departments will be involved in that in one way, shape, or form.
Jill,
yeah.
Sorry, we had a good question about this topic. It came in early, but I was waiting for that slide on.
Yeah.
Do you use career assessments to help students determine pathways to pursue?
Somewhat.
And if so, how do you use them? Yeah.
So somewhat, yes. There's many outside of SchooLinks that our counselors bring in, but also within SchooLinks. And I'll share actually on my last slide is our onboarding lesson, and that actually starts them right at the very beginning of thinking about what they're good at, what they have a passion for, and what they can actually find potential employment in. And that drives that curriculum maps, like that drives the lessons that we deliver for students. So one of our outcomes at 10th grade actually is by 10th grade, a student should be able to narrow down at least one career goal and be able to log that into their SchooLinks platform so that they can then start planning, doing that purposeful planning for high school. But I guess the long-winded way to say, yes, we use them. The ones we use very targeted within our lessons are the ones that are housed within SchooLinks, and there's several of those that they have available within that platform. I'll keep going, but feel free to interrupt me anytime, Dave. I want to make sure that we're addressing questions that might be relevant. So just kind of a side note, I wanted to speak a little bit about when we started this process. It kind of led to an informal course audit. We didn't really start out saying we were going to do a course audit, but when we first began thinking about that career-focused pathways, we brought together all of our department chairs from both of the high schools, from every department, core and elective, and then we had our high school administrators there as well. And what we started to do is really think about how are we communicating the courses and the extracurriculars that we offer. And so we actually had them do an activity where they took every course that they offer in their department and aligned it with a specific career cluster area. And then we began publishing our course book and with an addendum of career pathways. And so every one of the courses that we offer is shown within a specific career pathway area. We took that a little further and did that with our clubs and activities so that now students and families can also see the extracurriculars that we offer, how those are aligned to those particular career pathway areas. So that was one of our first iterations. Since then, we've iterated again, and our current course book is housed in SchooLinks. It's a web-based platform within there, and it's out-facing, so anybody can see it on any device at any time. And the nice side benefit is that it's also, we can edit in real time. So any changes or updates or tweaks that we might need to make to that book, we don't have to wait for that annual edit process anymore. We can just go live at any time. So that was kind of a side benefit. We were able to take a look at the courses and see what we had that actually fit into those different pathway areas. And as you might imagine, when you talk about the 2 years of specific coursework, the early college credit that needs to be in those, the work-based learning that needs to happen for all students, it's a heavy lift. And so, it can't just be done by our counselors or by someone at the district office or by a specific teacher. So we really needed to engage our entire high school leadership team. And I just show you this quick slide because I wanted you to see that every one of our high school assistant principals and principals were assigned to one of these specific work streams, and they were responsible for making sure that the work was moving forward and that the collaboration was happening within those different areas. I attend each one of our high school leadership meetings, and a portion of our agenda is dedicated to this conversation and to this work. And then we also knew and know that our department chairs are the ones who are doing a lot of the heavy lifting in the buildings in both developing programs and providing professional learning for staff, but also in communicating and making sure our students and families understand the offerings. So last year we spent once a month, we brought together all of our department chairs we have 2 high schools, from each high school came to a crosstown meeting once a month, and we spent the entire year really unpacking the legislation, learning why dual credit's important for students, really looking at our offerings and thinking cross-departmental what made sense when we started to build those pathways. So I would encourage you to make sure you're engaging your leaders and your key players at each of your buildings as you're working in this area. All right, so the third bucket really talks about data, systems, and supports. This is huge. And so our state, which like many states across the country, has goals of making sure that their graduates are college and career ready. So in Illinois, their broad goal is that 90% of our graduates should be college and career ready by 2032. And what does that mean? Our state came out with an entire list of different academic indicators as well as career indicators that students will use to show that readiness. For me, the celebration is that's a lot of different data points for a student to show success. That's not just a test score or a GPA. The other piece of that is it now is part of our accountability system. So a portion of our school report card does show how well we're doing in getting kids college and career ready. We started reporting that 2 years ago, and that will be a continual annual update that we have to send to the state as well. So that's when I want to come back to kind of our decision to go with SchooLinks and how it supports this work for us. But we took all of that, information that we're required to track and to house and to have data on each and every student about, and we thought, how in the world are we going to get that organized so that it makes sense for us, both in our internal decision making, it makes sense for a student and family, but it also gives us the information we need for our state reporting. And so what we did in 2018, we actually put out a formal RFP where we had all of these different things we were going to need. And we said, who out there can help us solve that? So myself and our director of data operations partnered in that RFP work. We brought together a very diverse committee to review the different vendors and different tools. And then our group landed on the adoption of SchooLinks to be the platform that's going to kind of help us with these different things that we knew we needed to do that you see on the slide there, and to help make it scalable for us. And I want to talk a little bit about, we were very, very strategic in our implementation of this. So we signed the contract with SchooLinks in about January. And then we immediately started to work on how would our implementation look. And so we had about a semester and a summer prior to any students being in the platform to really get ready for this implementation. In fact, we started with training with every one of our counselors was in March, and then the counselors left that whole first summer with some online modules and professional learning that they were going to complete before they came back to some of those face-to-face training sessions in August. We even set very specific dates of when we wanted to make sure that every one of our students were onboarded into the platform, and that every one of our students were able to make their course plan within the platform. I also created a role within a new role to help support this implementation. So we developed something we called SchooLinks Champions. And so that role fell to at least one counselor in each of our junior highs, and we asked for 2 counselors from each of our high schools. And they took on the leadership role and really learning and understanding the tool and the application of the tool. So it was similar to like the train the trainer model, where we had at least one person, or in some cases 2, in each building that really became the experts, so that I could go to them and ask questions and provide feedback through those first 2 years of implementation. Along with that, we took some time and we developed year 1 and year 2 expectations that we had around both implementation of our college and career readiness tool, but also implementation of our counseling curriculum. So you can see on the slide, we started in year 1, making sure that students from 6th through 11th grade really had an ILP started, that they started to get those lessons delivered both face-to-face and in individual counseling sessions. And then in year 2, we added our 12th graders into the mix, and we also added that whole post-secondary application process through SchooLinks to the expectations as well. Since then, it's been about 4 years now since implementation, and we even had the pandemic interruption right in the middle of our implementation, but we've had, in 4 years, we've tripled our logins into the platform. 96% of our students have actually completed onboarding, which includes those counseling lessons that go along with that onboarding. We have 85% of our seniors this year have set up at least one college application. And then you'll notice some large numbers there. Last year, we managed over 11,000 applications to college and all the documents along with that, along with the teacher recommendation letters sent through SchooLinks. That last number is growing for us. I'm happy. Our goal, like I said earlier, was that every 10th grader will have set a career goal in SchooLinks. So this number keeps getting bigger each month, but right now, of our 8th through 10th grade students, about 81% of them, or 61%, have set their career goal. I had to kind of summarize our next steps. We are going to continue to grow our pathway offerings. So we really took a slow and steady approach. We looked at where we had most of the components in place and have begun with those pathways, but we are going to grow those and grow our dual credit and early college credit opportunities for students. Very excited about our work-based learning. We are launching a new internship program next year. And we are going to use the partnership engagement tool and work-based learning tool in SchooLinks to help support that program. But that's going to give us some leverage to be able to scale those authentic experiences for all students. We plan to bring our junior high course offerings into SchooLinks so that they have a course book there as well. And then we know that the conversation starts for us in 6th grade, but we know we need to get down to some of those early elementary grades to start talking about careers with them as well. Lessons learned, again, we are still a work in progress and not perfect, but I would encourage you to, if you are in this work, it's huge and it's never done. So just start. Find your low-hanging fruit is what I like to call it, or areas where you can make initial impact and have initial successes and just get started. Make sure you're engaging all stakeholders along the way. One thing that's been key for us is really making sure we define why we're doing this for students, why it's important for students, and keeping that focused and in the forefront of all of our conversations and continuing to revisit that. Make sure you do your own learning, but bring along your teams with that, and that you have systems in place to help support it. And in my opinion, you can never over-communicate and you can never over-celebrate the successes along the way. That helps for all that are in that journey. So at this point, I would open up to questions, but I would also leave you with a little fun activity. So if you have your phone sometime today or your device of some kind, you could type in this URL, and that actually takes you to the very first lesson we do with our 6th graders around college and career readiness. It's a little fun activity, and actually adults tend to enjoy it as well. So thank you, SchooLinks, for hosting us today. And if there's questions, I'm happy to
there's a few. So Matt, I'm not going to say last names, but if you're still on, I know you had to jump, but that path.is is one of the assessments, so you can try that out. We had another question about the curriculum map you showed, which I think, Jill, for you was slide 8.
Yeah, can you stop sharing my screen for me? But
I don't know if I can.
Oh, no, you want me to go back to curriculum map. Gotcha.
Yeah, slide 8.
Yep.
Are you able to share that? And if not, could you just talk about the process for creating it? I don't know if you're allowed to share them.
So what I'm happy to talk through them with anybody who wants to reach out, but really what I would tell you is we had a great committee, and actually they're still meeting. There are some awesome people on this team, but what we did when we first started, we actually used 3 different sets of standards. We took the academic readiness standards from ASCA, we took Illinois social emotional learning standards, and we took the PACE document, and we unpacked all of those and wrote learning targets for 6th grade through 12th grade around each of those. To be perfectly honest with you, if I were starting over and did that again, I would probably focus just on one set of standards. Having the 3 was a really heavy lift. For us, if I were to do it again, I would actually take the PACE document that is part of the Post-Secondary Workforce Readiness Act in Illinois, and I would use that to really build my maps. And in fact, the new legislation takes this all the way down to 6th grade now. And so this summer, Illinois will put out a new iteration of that that shows what students should know and be able to do. But that's how we unpacked the different standards. And then our maps are actually we wrote all the way down to an exemplar lesson level for our counselors. So there's probably about 3 or 4 units per grade that we have developed around these different standards. So I'd be happy to talk individually, though, if you want to see more specifics. I know we have a lot of our counselors that are always willing to share as well, too.
It's great. And a few people have put their email address in the chat, so I'll send those to you, and you can decide what you want to share with everyone. We had another question here about I skipped a question because there's so many people keep asking them, but I got lost. How does this information get into the SIS from the career planning to the course request and the course planning into the scheduling?
Sure. And again, this is just our example. I know there's lots of different tools out there, but for us, we do our 4-year planning starts in 8th grade, and they do it in SchooLinks. So all of our courses are listed in there, and they also have opportunities to pick. Like if I pick education as my pathway, it'll help me populate some of those courses along the way.
You're using the sequences. So
correct.
It'll actually, nice. That's great.
Yep. But then the other component is we have that process. I know if you live in high school, it happens every year. We update that 4-year plan annually. So about December, January is when our students and families and counselors are doing a lot of the heavy lifting of conversations about, well, this is what you said you thought your plan was. Have we changed that? What do we need to tweak based on your courses that you've taken already and courses you want to take? And so they update those in SchooLinks. And then a magic date, it's usually the end of January, beginning of February, we actually lock that down. So there can be no more edits done in SchooLinks. And then our data team, we harvest all that information out of SchooLinks and put it into our SIS, which is Infinite Campus. And then that's where all the master scheduling happens, the balancing. And then at some point later date in the spring, the opposite happens. Then what the actual schedule is gets back put into SchooLinks. And then at some point that dashboard then for the student gets updated based on what classes they've taken and what they've planned for. So it's not perfect, but it works a lot. It's a lot smoother than what we anticipated it would be.
Yep. Another great question of, do you have scope and sequence activities for each grade level?
Yes.
Right. So
6 through 12. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny. That's exactly what they asked them. Do you have them for 6 through 12? So I know you have them. They asked if you can share it. I don't know if you can. I know we didn't put a slide on it.
Probably won't make a ton of sense to share the whole maps, but we did develop a counseling site. So we have a website for all of our school counselors and leaders that has not just the maps, but it has all the professional learning. It has all the kind of management components that are a part of their job as well. But I have a kind of a snapshot doc that I could probably find and send to those emails that are asking. It doesn't get you into the weeds, but it kind of shows you the main targets and the main outcomes at each grade level.
Yeah. We could also, is it Sydney's your CS or Brit? No.
Oh, Becca.
Yep. Becca. We could also work with Becca on doing an export
Perfect.
of the scope and sequence from SchooLinks.
Oh yeah.
Because you can export it as a PDF.
Yep.
Everyone's like, wow, great. Yeah. I'm getting much like add my email to the doc. So sure.
That's funny.
Absolutely. All of it.
That's funny.
All right. I know we're at time. Last question. I think this is going to be the one where the good one to end on of how long did it take the committee to unpack and write all the targets? And I know the committee's still meeting, so how long? It's been
Yeah,
a while, right?
it's been, well, we were pandemic interrupted. It is one of our longer committees. So we started, it probably took us a good 2 years to really build a solid, shell. And I would say we had our, freshman maps done first. 12th grade was fairly easy. We've been tweaking 10th grade quite a bit and 11th grade. But if you're planning, I would say go with a 2 year lead up, or but you can always implement while you're building, and that's kind of what we ended up doing, because we had built the maps and we were implementing the curriculum, and then the world shut down, and so we had to switch everything to virtual and make some adjustments because a lot of the social emotional learning kind of took a forefront, and then now we're coming back to those and tweaking and editing. So my committee's been working for the last 4 years, but we've had maps in place for at least 2 of those. Does that answer your question?
I mean, I think it answers the question. I didn't ask for it, but
It's an ongoing work. Yep.
So we are at time. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So thank you so much, Jill, for all this great information, for answering the questions. For everyone, if we didn't answer a question, I promise we will answer it as well. And I'll work with Jill on sending out the scope and sequence and the I guess the curriculum map, Jill, if you're okay with
Kind
sharing.
of our snapshot. We can
yeah,
kind of our one pager. So
yeah, that would be great. And then and thank you.
Thanks for joining, everyone. I appreciate it, your time, and happy to be in this work with all of you.
All right, everyone, have a great day.